Okay, so your phone updates, right? Your car requires service now and again, according to the intervals that were provided by your service provider, dealership, wherever you bought the car. And your laptop resets now and again. But have you ever taken time to recalibrate yourself, your mind? Well, I did. And I want to share that experience because about 3 weeks ago, I went on an 8 week liquid fast. I didn't do it to lose weight. I'm pretty happy with my body. My BMI, which is your body mass index, I'm happy. It's aligned. But I did it more so to increase focus, spiritual focus, clarity, to increase my mental acuity, to increase my patience, and to reset my discipline from a productivity point of view. Now, think about it. What exactly is mental calibration? Mental calibration is where you reduce dopamine. I'll go into the research and science around dopamine as a hormone that you and your body needs to focus. It spikes, it goes high, it goes low, and the like, but I'll go into that. It reduces noise. In other words, it declutters you. We think a lot, we tend to focus a lot on things that we shouldn't focus on. It increases self control. I don't know how, but it truly does, right? Because you are so focused. You can hear a pin drop. You stop being impulsive in your actions. It just increases self-control. It strengthens awareness. Again, I use the pin drop example. Your hearing heightens, your sight improves, your taste buds, your taste buds, when you get back to eating, they become something else. The simplest thing that you take for granted when it comes to your taste and your liking of the food that you eat and the palatability of how you eat, that actually gets intensified and it realigns your priorities, right? So it's like stepping back from constant stimulation. Remember, we are in this technological era. So our phones are constantly beeping. We're getting notifications. We're on social media. We're watching YouTube videos. There's programs on TV and the like. So there's constant stimuli that are coming to you. And your brain then just fires back, doesn't even know where to focus on, right? Social media, I touched on. Then emotional creativity. It's like you take a step back from creating scenarios as ngekho. You literally deal with what exists and what is actually there. Nthotseng teng, right? And again, on the issue of impulse, it helps you deal with not being impulsive when you take decisions or actions because you think clearly before you actually do any of those. But let me share now the actual 8 day liquid fast experience. There's a video where I spoke about it from a day to day perspective. What happens to your body, what intensifies, what increases, when does hunger actually strike, and what to do when you are hungry. Today, we're not going into the mechanics of it, right? Because the mechanics of it can be derived and taken as medical advice, and that's not what I want to do. It was my personal decision, and it worked for me. I'm not necessarily saying that it can work for everyone because ultimately our bodies function differently. We have different experiences. There's different things that stimulate us in our bodies and how we actually work. So it's important that this is not taken as medical advice at any particular point, especially when we're speaking about extended fasting. But what benefits are there that link to fasting? Starting with the mind, increased clarity. Like you don't need to think long before something is clear to you. Things get easily clear for you, easily, and you can relate and make quick decisions around it because you have this reduced mental clutter and your mind is decluttered. You don't even need to think about food in that period, but afterwards, even then, your mind is just sharp, fast, and you stand out essentially. People can ask you questions and you don't answer them on a surface based level. Obviously, it will depend on your knowledge base, but you have that sharper focus at the end of the day. Then your body becomes light instead of heavy. Usually we're heavy, we're lethargic, we tend to sleep more than we actually should and the like, but your body becomes light. You tend to sleep better. You have improved energy levels and energy regulation, right? And you have this reduced dependency on continuous consumption. Because the the thoughts that we have usually is that food is for energy, but we tend to overeat. That gives our body more work as far as the digestive system is concerned, the gastrointestinal system, and that causes us to be less productive than we actually should, right? So you become light on your feet, you become fast, you sleep better, you snore less as well. That's what I've been told, because I do snore, but during that phase, I actually snored less because there was less functionality that was happening in the body. When it was time to rest, it actually rested. What about your soul? When we speaking your soul, we're speaking spiritual alignment. Now it depends. There's religion, there's spirituality. If you are religious, then the best tool and way to go about it is to read the Bible now and again, read certain verses and meditate on those particular verses during this time. They tend to hit more, and your level of interpretation during that time also increases and becomes far better. But you also have increased gratitude. You're thankful. Because remember, distractions are here and there, but you are able to take yourself out of those particular distractions. So gratitude becomes a core principle. I have about 3 videos on gratitude on the Start With You Network with Less channel. So if you have time, do check them out. They span from 5 years ago to date. Then reflection, obviously. You have to reflect about your life. You have to reflect about your ethics, your morals, your decision making, the impact that you are having on other people, and you become forward thinking. So the soul is also fed during this particular time. Then, of course, productivity. There's less distraction, there's improved and tuned in discipline, and there's improved time discipline, because there's also that element that you're not worried about making meals. You're not worried about making heavy meals. You're not worried about having to go to the store for certain things. All you need is your water. Then perhaps, let's say, I take your cranberry juice, and of course, to drink some black tea in between, just so that the system actually cleans itself during this fasting period, right? And you have that increased task execution rate because you're just so focused at the end of the day. Then, of course, there's the elements of patience and emotional intelligence. You have reduced impulsive reactions, just like I've mentioned. You have greater emotional control, and you listen more. You don't just hear, but you listen. You try and understand, and that's very important, because to become a good leader, you have to be the type of leader that listens to people, not just hears them. Listen to understand, listen not to respond, but actually think about it and meditate on whatever people are saying. Right now, let's get into the research components or research elements that go hand in glove with the issue of fasting. Dopamine regulation. So dopamine is a hormone that gets triggered by certain stimuli, right? Stimuli such as food, stimuli such as social media, stimuli such as notifications coming in. The biggest one being sugar. Sugar is one of the biggest stimuli there is. And of course, this constant consumption. With dopamine, you look forward to something, and then that's what causes your dopamine to basically go up. So your dopamine is your happy hormone, always wanting to act, always wanting to be happy and jolly and become stimulated. So this excessive stimulation that we go through on a day to day reduces our baseline motivation and increases our impulsivity. So most of the decisions that we make are not well regulated. So this reset period, this recalibration period, what does it do? It can restore your sensitivity. So not every single thing will spike up your dopamine rate. It can improve focus, and it can strengthen delayed gratification. Remember, when we talk about goals and the setting of goals that we have, then we need to consider that some things are not momentous and we don't get them instantly. So, through delayed gratification, we increase our planning and our preparation rate, and even our decision making becomes better because we have an end goal in sight. And that's what this reset and recalibration phase can actually do for you. Then let's talk about the research insofar as fasting and cognitive clarity. So, research actually suggests that short term fasting may increase mental alertness. It may increase neuroplasticity. So, what is neuroplasticity? Neuroplasticity is the stretching of the mind. You get to retain more, you get to remember more, your memory becomes increased. But also, other lobes in your brain, the activity heightens. So, every single part of your brain that is responsible for a particular function, that heightens. And during this reset phase, then the digestive system, the part that controls that digestive system, the hypothalamus of the brain, gets to rest so that the other parts of the brain can actually have that mental activity going, right? Then your BDNF, your brain derived neural factor, right? Neurotrophic factor, your brain derived neurotrophic factor. So, what does BDNF actually support? It supports learning, memory, and cognitive function. So, it is important to understand that these are not medical claims. This is a field that is emerging in research, right? Especially as far as your brain derived neurotrophic factor is concerned. Hence, I butchered that word and the concept, right? Because it's actually new research. But the fasting process or the fasting period helps heighten that, build that, strengthen that for you. Then the aspect of emotional regulation, self-imposed discomfort increases self-control, stress tolerance, and emotional resilience. Because again, it correlates insofar as the delayed gratification aspect, in the sense that with more delayed gratification, there's an increased chance of long term success. And that's what we want. As starters, we want to build this platform so that whoever's receiving the information can use it, build on it, and actually improve their life in one way, shape, or form. So, discipline is a muscle, and fasting trains that muscle, it stretches it, it cuts the muscle, it breaks down the muscle so that the muscle comes back stronger. That's what fasting does to your brain. Then, from the spiritual dimension, across different religions, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, fasting is a common concept, and it's used for reflection, it's used for alignment, it's used for detachment from material impulses or from material things. That's what this fasting component actually does. And that's when it actually helps to remove constant consumption and create a space of clarity from the spiritual realm or from the spiritual perspective, right? Now, when we talk recalibration, we need to look at it beyond the food component. So the fasting process is not just about the food. Recalibration should go beyond the food. What about digital fasting, where you limit access to your phones, you switch off notifications so that the only time you go to your phone is because you chose to go to your phone. The only time you check a particular app is because you chose to to actually go through that particular app. It becomes a form of a social media detox, as it were. There are tons of YouTube videos that speak of social media detox. I myself personally have never gone on it because I'm not on social media like that, to my benefit. I'm not on social media like that. Of course, when you do come across my content on social media, do share it. I mean, I'm not saying don't share my content. Do share it, right? Then there's the aspect of financial reset. Remember, you are saving on not buying food. So it gives you time to also go look back at your budget. How are you managing your finances? How are you managing your chankoras, your money, your zag? Think about that. Have a financial reset strategy also in place, right? Then speech discipline. There's other people that use fasting as a chance to be silent, quiet, calm, tranquil. There are people that choose fasting for that specifically, where they get to reflect and listen and meditate to themselves, their minds, their thoughts, and they become one with self. So fasting is beyond food, is the point that I'm making. Even from a sleep discipline perspective, I did highlight that one sleeps better. You become more disciplined because you increase your numbers of the number of hours that you sleep. Now, myself, I still got an infant, a young baby, right? So my sleep patterns were also disturbed for the longest time. And this fasting component actually helped with that. It actually helped with that because our kids also sense the vibes. Our kids also sense the energy. And through them sensing this energy, it's kind of cool for them to sense this cool, calm demeanor that you bring forth as their dad, right? And of course the emotional silence, where you don't react to things, you are not impulsive, you think before you act, your decision making becomes in tune, and you align with your actual goals. So calibration is about restraint more than anything. It's about restraint, right? So most people try to increase output without resetting their system. Whereas calibration improves the decision quality, the focus, the task completion rate, how quick you complete a task. I highlighted that in the intro of this video, and reduce procrastination. Because of that clarity, you're able to quickly think this is actually important. And because it's important, I actually have to act on it and I have to do what is necessary, right? But now into the practical. I said I'm not going to touch much on it or dwell much on it, but I think maybe it is important because from this video, you may be keen to actually start fasting. So here's a quick guide. I'm not going to go into detail, but here's a quick guide that should actually help you, especially from an entry level perspective, an entry level challenge that I'm actually giving you, because not everyone should start with 8 days. I didn't start with 8 days, I started with 3. So that's the beginner level. We'll call it level 1, beginner recalibration, 3 days. This is where you don't eat any junk food, you avoid social media scrolling, you wake up at least 1 hour earlier, just 1 hour earlier. If you used to wake up at 5, wake up at 4 and use that hour productively. Read something, sweat out your body a bit, just do something, right? Then, of course, 10 minutes of silent reflection every day within these 3 days. Get to know yourself better. Now, level 2, intermediate, that's what I'm more into. Intermediate is like your 7 days. That's where now you have a structured eating window, because mine was a liquid fast. Yours doesn't need to be. Yours can be a fast where you eat once a day. You break your fast once a day on a set time schedule. And when you do eat, you eat your fruits, you eat your minor things. You don't eat processed foods, for example. So during this time, there's no unnecessary spending, there's no complaining, and you are intentional in terms of your speech. What comes out of your mouth, you are intentional about it. Then, of course, you advance fasting. This is now above 7 days, right? Or above my 8 days. This is where you have extended discipline reset with medical caution, of course. Full digital detox. No phone, no technology, no TV, no nothing. Strict reflection mode. Then a financial fast where there's no discretionary spending. You proper spend because you have to. You have to pour petrol in your car, else you're going nowhere. You understand? So no discretionary spending. You become intentional with what it is that you're doing. Then, of course, your spiritual focus period, where you read your religious regiment, you get acquainted with certain prospects of religion, you start reflecting on your future from a religious point of view, but everything actually becomes actionable for you, right? So there's a balance between just doing it, but being responsible about it. So again, I re-emphasize, before you do any of what the things that I'm saying, consult your healthcare professional. It is not suitable for everyone. Listen to your body and don't go to the extreme. Avoid extremities. or extremism. Avoid extremism, right? Because at the end of the day, my channel is not solely about fasting. It's about productivity, the mind, finances, and everything else. So I need to be held accountable. And that's why such disclosures have to come in, such disclaimers have to come in, right? So I didn't fast to prove that I'm tough. I didn't fast to prove that I can do it. I had my own fasting because I wanted to do it. It was my own decision. But because there was that brain fog, it was there. My body was heavy, it was there, right? And I just wanted to improve that. So, what I discovered is that when you control consumption, then you regain control of direction in your life. So, my starters, it's time to recalibrate. It's time to recalibrate. I love you, appreciate you, and I'll see you on the next one. Feel like subscribing, do subscribe. If not, please like. If not, thanks for watching. You did get to the end at the end of the day. Cheers, guys. Yeah, switch it off, dog. Ew, yeah.